What if the voice inside your head that criticizes every mistake could become your strongest ally instead of your harshest judge, guiding you toward growth, confidence, emotional balance, and resilience? Most people believe being hard on themselves is the best way to improve, yet research and real experience reveal something surprising about how kindness toward yourself actually strengthens motivation. This powerful mindset is called self-compassion, a skill that transforms how you respond to mistakes, setbacks, and challenges while building emotional strength and healthier relationships with yourself. Instead of ignoring problems or avoiding responsibility, self-compassion encourages honest reflection while replacing harsh judgment with understanding, patience, and encouragement during difficult moments in life. Surprisingly, people who practice self-compassion often become more productive, more confident, and more emotionally stable than those who constantly criticize themselves after every mistake or failure. For many people, the idea of being kind to themselves feels unusual because society often teaches that strict self-criticism leads to discipline, improvement, and long-term success. From childhood through adulthood, people frequently hear messages suggesting that mistakes deserve punishment rather than understanding, creating an inner voice that becomes harsh, demanding, and unforgiving. Over time, this internal criticism can become so strong that even small mistakes trigger feelings of embarrassment, anxiety, disappointment, or the belief that you are simply not good enough. This is where self-compassion introduces a powerful alternative approach that allows people to grow without damaging their confidence or emotional well-being. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and encouragement that you would naturally offer to a close friend experiencing difficulty or disappointment. Imagine how you might comfort a friend who failed an important exam, lost an opportunity, or made a mistake at work that caused frustration or embarrassment. Most people would respond with understanding, reminding their friend that mistakes happen and that one setback does not define their entire ability or future success. However, when the same situation happens to themselves, many people react very differently by criticizing their intelligence, discipline, or worth. Self-compassion simply asks an important question that many people forget to consider during difficult moments in life. Why should the kindness you offer others not also be extended toward yourself when you face challenges, mistakes, or emotional struggles? According to psychologist Kristin Neff, self-compassion is built upon three essential elements that work together to create emotional resilience and healthier self-awareness. The first element is self-kindness, which means choosing understanding and patience instead of harsh self-criticism when things go wrong. The second element is recognizing common humanity, the idea that mistakes and struggles are normal parts of the shared human experience. This perspective helps people realize they are not alone in their difficulties and that imperfection is a universal aspect of growth. The third element is mindfulness, which involves noticing painful emotions without exaggerating them or pretending they do not exist. When these three elements work together, they create a powerful emotional support system within your own mind. Instead of fighting against yourself during difficult moments, you learn to support yourself in ways that encourage growth and healing. Many people initially worry that self-compassion will make them lazy or remove their motivation to improve. However, psychological research consistently shows the opposite outcome for people who practice self-compassion regularly. People who respond to mistakes with understanding, rather than shame, are actually more willing to learn from those experiences. This happens because self-compassion reduces the fear of failure that often prevents people from taking risks or trying new challenges. When failure feels less threatening, individuals become more open to learning, experimenting, and improving their skills. Instead of avoiding mistakes at all costs, they begin to see mistakes as valuable sources of information. This shift in perspective allows personal growth to happen more naturally and more consistently. Self-compassion also reduces emotional stress that builds up when people constantly judge themselves harshly. Chronic self-criticism activates the body's stress response, increasing feelings of anxiety and emotional exhaustion over time. By replacing criticism with understanding, self-compassion helps calm the mind and restore emotional balance. This calm mental state allows clearer thinking, better decision-making, and healthier reactions to challenges. Now that we understand what self-compassion is, the question becomes clear. Why does treating yourself kindly actually improve resilience, motivation, and emotional well-being in measurable ways? The answer lies in both psychology and neuroscience, because being kind to yourself activates pathways in your brain that reduce stress and encourage thoughtful reflection. Research shows that when people respond to challenges with self-compassion, their levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, decrease significantly compared to those who respond with harsh self-criticism. Lower stress hormones allow clearer thinking, better decision-making, and more creative problem-solving, which explains why self-compassion often leads to better outcomes in personal and professional life. Another reason self-compassion works is its ability to reduce fear of failure, which is often the primary barrier to trying new challenges or taking risks. When you know that mistakes won't destroy your self-worth, you are far more willing to experiment, learn, and grow without the constant pressure of judgment. This is because self-compassion creates an internal safety net, allowing you to face setbacks with curiosity rather than shame, transforming failures into opportunities to learn and improve. People who practice self-compassion regularly often notice that their motivation increases because the mind no longer associates failure with punishment or rejection. In fact, studies consistently show that self-compassionate individuals are more persistent in reaching goals compared to those who rely solely on self-criticism. This counterintuitive result reveals that being kind to yourself doesn't weaken ambition, it strengthens it by reducing emotional obstacles that block focus and perseverance. Self-compassion also improves emotional resilience, which is the ability to recover quickly from stress, disappointment, or negative experiences without being overwhelmed. By acknowledging your feelings without judgment, self-compassion allows you to process emotions constructively rather than suppressing or exaggerating them. Mindfulness, one of the 3 pillars of self-compassion, helps you notice painful thoughts and emotions objectively, preventing them from spiraling out of control. When combined with self-kindness, mindfulness transforms negative self-talk into supportive internal dialogue that encourages understanding and growth instead of fear or shame. This process also strengthens self-awareness because you learn to recognize patterns of thinking that might be unnecessarily harsh or unhelpful. People who practice self-compassion notice that they respond to setbacks more calmly, offering themselves the same empathy they would to a friend in a similar situation. Recognizing common humanity, another core aspect of self-compassion, reminds you that mistakes, struggles, and emotional pain are shared experiences rather than personal flaws. This perspective reduces isolation, helping you feel connected rather than alone during difficult moments, which enhances both mental and emotional well-being. Understanding that imperfection is normal allows you to treat yourself with patience, reducing the constant pressure to achieve unrealistic standards of perfection. In this way, self-compassion serves as a protective buffer against anxiety, depression, and burnout because it promotes acceptance and emotional balance. Neuroscience research supports this, showing that self-compassion activates areas of the brain associated with reward and caregiving, creating feelings of warmth, safety, and comfort. This activation contrasts sharply with the brain's response to self-criticism, which triggers areas associated with threat, stress, and emotional pain. By rewiring your response to challenges, self-compassion changes the way you experience difficulties, making growth more achievable and less emotionally taxing. Another reason self-compassion works is that it encourages reflection rather than rumination, allowing you to learn from mistakes without getting stuck in negative thoughts. When you approach yourself kindly, you create the mental space to analyze problems, understand patterns, and take productive action instead of becoming paralyzed by guilt or fear. Studies have found that self-compassionate people are more likely to recover quickly from setbacks, resume working toward goals, and maintain healthy emotional balance during adversity. This makes self-compassion not just a feel-good practice, but a practical tool for enhancing performance, resilience, and personal growth. For example, students who practice self-compassion handle academic setbacks better, reporting less stress and higher motivation to improve than peers relying on harsh self-criticism. Athletes who cultivate self-compassion experience fewer performance-related anxieties and recover faster from mistakes because they treat errors as opportunities to learn rather than. Understanding self-compassion is powerful, but the real transformation happens when you actively practice it through daily exercises that build kindness, patience, and understanding toward yourself consistently over time. One of the simplest ways to begin is by pausing whenever you notice self-criticism and intentionally responding with gentle, supportive thoughts instead of judgment or blame. For example, if you make a mistake at work, instead of saying, "I always fail," you can say, "It's okay to make mistakes. I'm learning and growing every day." This small change in inner dialogue may feel unnatural at first, yet repetition strengthens neural pathways associated with positive self-regard and emotional regulation. Another effective strategy is to treat yourself like you would a close friend, offering the same encouragement, patience, and understanding that you would naturally extend to someone you care about. When challenges arise, imagine what advice or comforting words you would give to a friend in your situation. Then offer those words to yourself sincerely. Journaling is also a powerful tool for cultivating self-compassion because it allows you to externalize thoughts, reflect, and rewrite harsh inner narratives in a more supportive tone. Start by writing down a moment when you felt frustrated, anxious, or upset, and then respond with compassionate language that acknowledges your feelings without judgment. For instance, you might write, "I feel disappointed because I didn't meet my goal, but it's okay. I'm learning, and I can take small steps forward tomorrow." Mindfulness meditation is another scientifically validated method to develop self-compassion by training your mind to notice thoughts and emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Even a brief daily practice of focusing on the breath and acknowledging your feelings as temporary and natural can reduce self-critical thought patterns significantly over time. Guided meditations, specifically designed for self-compassion, are widely available, and these exercises often include repeating phrases of kindness toward yourself while visualizing support and care. One popular technique involves silently repeating statements such as, "May I be kind to myself," "May I accept my imperfections," or "May I learn and grow from this experience." Recognizing the shared nature of human experiences also strengthens self-compassion by reminding you that mistakes, struggles, and setbacks are normal for everyone, not just yourself. Whenever you feel isolated by failure or disappointment, pause and consider how many people experience similar challenges and are also learning and growing. This perspective helps reduce feelings of shame and isolation, making it easier to respond to difficulties with understanding and patience. Visualization exercises can further enhance self-compassion by creating a mental image of a supportive figure offering care, encouragement, or understanding during challenging moments. You might imagine someone you trust placing a hand on your shoulder and saying comforting words, allowing your mind to internalize that support. Another practical strategy is self-compassionate letter writing, where you write a letter to yourself addressing a specific struggle or failure with empathy and kindness. Begin by acknowledging the difficulty, expressing understanding of your feelings, and offering words of encouragement or guidance as if speaking to a close friend. Over time, these letters serve as a tangible reminder of your capacity for self-kindness, strengthening your inner supportive voice. Setting realistic expectations is also essential for self-compassion, because perfectionism often fuels self-criticism and emotional stress. Break tasks into manageable steps, celebrate small victories, and accept that progress is gradual and mistakes are part of the learning process. Practicing gratitude can complement self-compassion by shifting focus from flaws and failures to strengths, resources, and meaningful moments in life. Regularly noting even small achievements or moments of resilience reinforces your sense of competence and reduces harsh self-judgment. Another powerful technique is reframing mistakes as opportunities for learning rather than evidence of inadequacy, which strengthens motivation and emotional resilience. Instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this," reframe it as, "I'm gaining experience, and each attempt brings me closer to improvement." Social support is also a key aspect of self-compassion, because sharing struggles with trusted friends or mentors reminds you that you are not alone. Talking openly about setbacks and emotions in a safe environment encourages self-reflection and reduces self-blame, while reinforcing shared humanity. Practicing self-compassion does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means approaching mistakes with honesty, reflection, and constructive solutions while maintaining emotional balance. Understanding self-compassion in theory is helpful, but seeing how it transforms real lives makes the concept tangible, inspiring, and easier to integrate into your own daily experiences. For instance, consider students struggling with academic pressure who shift from harsh self-criticism to supportive self-talk, noticing both reduced anxiety and higher motivation to improve performance. Research consistently shows that students practicing self-compassion recover more quickly from low grades and are more willing to seek help or try alternative strategies. Athletes provide another powerful example, especially in high-pressure sports environments where mistakes are inevitable and performance anxiety can be overwhelming without proper coping strategies. Self-compassion allows athletes to acknowledge errors without fear or judgment, enabling faster recovery, more focused practice, and greater overall improvement in skill and confidence. Professional environments also highlight the benefits, as employees who treat themselves with understanding after setbacks are less prone to burnout and more likely to maintain productivity. Instead of being consumed by perfectionism or self-criticism, self-compassionate workers approach challenges methodically, learning from mistakes without emotional exhaustion interfering with their performance. Parents often experience the transformative power of self-compassion when managing the inevitable challenges of raising children, from temper tantrums to mistakes in judgment. Responding with patience, understanding, and self-kindness allows parents to model emotional regulation for their children, creating healthier family dynamics and long-term resilience. Even in personal relationships, self-compassion improves emotional intelligence by fostering empathy toward yourself, which naturally extends to empathy toward others, reducing conflict and enhancing connection. The science behind these effects is compelling, showing that self-compassion activates brain regions associated with positive emotions, caregiving, and reward, while reducing activity in areas tied to threat and stress. This neural pattern explains why self-compassion not only improves emotional well-being, but also supports motivation, learning, and problem-solving in everyday situations. Psychologist Kristin Neff conducted studies demonstrating that individuals practicing self-compassion experience less anxiety, depression, and chronic stress compared to those relying on self-criticism. Participants also reported greater resilience, optimism, and overall life satisfaction, illustrating the profound long-term benefits of cultivating self-kindness and understanding. Mindfulness is a crucial part of the process, allowing people to observe negative thoughts and feelings without judgment, which prevents rumination and emotional overwhelm. When you combine mindfulness with self-kindness and recognition of shared human experience, you create a holistic approach that strengthens emotional resilience and adaptive coping. Another inspiring example comes from people recovering from trauma or loss, who often struggle with guilt, self-blame, and harsh internal criticism. Studies show that practicing self-compassion significantly reduces these negative patterns, supporting healing, emotional balance, and post-traumatic growth over time. Self-compassion doesn't eliminate challenges or prevent mistakes, but it changes the emotional response, helping people navigate adversity with strength, understanding, and clarity. Creative professionals often report that self-compassion fosters innovation because they feel safe to experiment, take risks, and fail without fearing permanent judgment or shame. This mindset promotes learning from failure and encourages iterative improvement, key elements for sustained growth in any creative or professional pursuit. Self-compassion also improves motivation by shifting the focus from fear of failure to curiosity and constructive problem-solving. People no longer procrastinate out of self-doubt. Instead, they act with care, reflection, and realistic expectations, producing better outcomes over time. Emotional regulation is another major benefit, as self-compassion reduces automatic negative reactions, allowing more thoughtful and deliberate responses to stressors. For example, during conflicts, a self-compassionate person is more likely to pause, reflect, and communicate effectively rather than reacting impulsively from anger or frustration. In relationships, this emotional stability fosters trust, empathy, and mutual understanding, creating stronger, more resilient connections with partners, friends, and colleagues. Real-world examples also show how self-compassion supports long-term personal growth, as individuals who practice it consistently are more likely to pursue goals with persistence and patience. Unlike harsh self-criticism, which often leads to burnout or avoidance, now that you understand self-compassion and its benefits, the next step is learning how to integrate practical exercises into your daily life to strengthen kindness and patience toward yourself. One of the simplest yet most effective practices is starting each morning with a short self-compassion meditation to set a supportive tone for the day ahead. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing while repeating phrases like, "May I be kind to myself today," or "It's okay to make mistakes," can rewire your mindset. During moments of stress or self-criticism, pause and intentionally label your emotions without judgment, acknowledging frustration, disappointment, or anxiety as natural human experiences rather than personal flaws. Journaling remains a powerful tool. Writing down challenges, reflecting on your responses, and responding with gentle encouragement builds a resilient, compassionate inner dialogue over time. Another daily habit is practicing mindful self-talk by catching negative thoughts early and reframing them with understanding rather than harsh criticism or blame. For example, instead of thinking, "I failed again," try saying, "This is challenging, but I am learning and improving with each step I take." Visualization exercises also enhance self-compassion, allowing you to imagine a supportive figure offering care and encouragement during moments of doubt, fear, or frustration. Self-compassionate letter writing is another transformative practice where you write to yourself, describing a struggle and responding with kindness, empathy, and realistic encouragement. Taking short breaks throughout the day to acknowledge effort and progress, even in small tasks, reinforces a positive internal narrative and reduces burnout. Setting realistic goals is key. Breaking large objectives into manageable steps allows you to celebrate small victories, reducing self-criticism and building sustained motivation. Gratitude exercises complement self-compassion by focusing attention on accomplishments, strengths, and supportive relationships rather than dwelling solely on flaws or mistakes. Spending time in reflection each evening can help consolidate lessons learned, identify areas for growth, and reinforce self-kindness after a day of challenges. Practicing self-compassion in relationships is equally important, as it allows you to respond to conflict with patience and empathy rather than projecting frustration onto others. Remembering that imperfection is shared among all humans encourages forgiveness toward yourself and others, reducing stress and enhancing emotional connections. Mindful breathing before difficult tasks, like public speaking, exams, or challenging conversations, can calm the nervous system and center your mind with self-supportive thoughts. Physical self-care reinforces self-compassion, as treating your body with respect, nourishment, and rest communicates internal understanding and kindness. Regular exercise, healthy nutrition, and sufficient sleep are all forms of tangible self-kindness that impact mental and emotional well-being. Social support also strengthens self-compassion, as sharing struggles with trusted friends or mentors helps normalize experiences and reduce feelings of isolation. Incorporating humor and play into daily life encourages resilience, reminding you that mistakes are natural and don't define your worth. Celebrating small achievements daily reinforces self-kindness and highlights progress rather than perfection, creating motivation without harsh judgment. Engaging in creative outlets, like writing, painting, or music, allows self-expression while providing a compassionate release for emotions and thoughts. Daily mindfulness reminders, such as phone notifications or sticky notes with encouraging messages, can reinforce intentional self-compassion throughout the day. Practicing deep listening to yourself and acknowledging your needs without judgment strengthens awareness and emotional balance, which supports decision-making and growth. Self-compassion is most effective when practiced consistently, turning supportive habits into automatic responses during challenges or setbacks. Combining multiple strategies, mindfulness, journaling, reflective writing, visualization, and goal setting, creates a comprehensive framework for sustained self-kindness. Over time, these practices rewire your responses to failure, stress, and criticism, making constructive growth natural and emotionally sustainable. Celebrating your efforts instead of obsessing over results reinforces the understanding that effort, persistence, and resilience are more important than perfection. Even on difficult days, pausing to acknowledge your emotions and respond with patience allows growth and healing to continue uninterrupted. Self-compassion encourages reflection rather than rumination, allowing you to analyze challenges, learn from them, and move forward without destructive self-judgment.